In the previous video we've taken a look at the Vaylantz Floodgate version, but how will you build strong boards without floodgates whilst going second? Well, let me show you. We'll start by scaling and special summoning the best card in the deck, Shinonome. Whilst on field, we'll use her effect to fetch us solo activation. Then we'll activate solo activation to put a mover in our scale. With mover, we mean either Nezuki or Buster Baron. Nezuki is generally the better card, but if you have a Mad Marquis or Dominator Duke in hand, it is worth going into Buster Baron for possible extension. For this combo we'll just go with Nezuki. Next we'll special summon Nezuki from our scale and use its on-field effect to move Shinonome. This allows us to search for a card, and we'll add Voltage Viscount to our hand. Now we'll link off both monsters and link summon our girl Beyond the Pendulum. With Beyond we'll pay 1200 to add a high scale, either Duelist Extraordinaire or Curtain Raiser. If you want to draw an additional card, add Curtain Raiser. If you want Battle Protection, grab Extraordinaire. So we'll grab the Extraordinaire. Then we'll scale the Extraordinaire and Viscount. And Pendulum summon back our Shinonome and our mover. And we'll immediately link them off to link summon Electromite. With Electromite we'll add Magicalabra to our extra deck to be used later. Now we'll special summon the Viscount from our scale, and, if we have Extraordinaire in our scale, we'll use its effect to place a Vaylantz from our extra deck in our spell/trap zone. This card we can pop with Electromite, foregoing a draw, but still adding Magicalabra to our hand. If we had used Curtain Raiser, you could pop it with Electromite to clear the Pendulum zone and draw a card. Convenient when you want to draw into more hand traps. Then we'll link summon Apollousa using Electromite and Beyond the Pendulum. Lastly, we'll normal summon Magicalabra and synchro it with the Viscount to summon Borreload Savage Dragon. So we'll end our one card combo with one Omni Negate and two Monster Negates. Also, since we have Duelist Extraordinaire in our scale, our opponent cannot simply summon a high attack monster to battle away Apollousa. A feat you can only pull of going into Extraordinaire over Curtain Raiser. So now we've seen the best one card opener. But with solo activation and an extender, we can also land on a very strong board. Since we've opened Curtain Raiser, we will have to scale and summon him first. Make sure when you summon him, that you do not summon him in either of the zones directly above the Pendulum zones, as we need those zones for our Vaylantz monsters. Then we'll use solo activation to scale a Shinonome. Use her Pendulum effect to special summon her to the monster zone above her scale. Next we'll use her Ignition effect to fetch us the field spell, or a card to fetch the field spell. When going for the field spell, it is always best to go for Konig Wissen, if you can. Activate the Konig Wissen and place Shinra Basho in the opponent's field zone. Since there is a field spell on field, we can use Solo Activation's Graveyard effect to move a Vaylantz monster to an adjacent zone. So we'll move Shinonome to trigger her effect, adding us a Voltage Viscount to hand. Then we'll use both monsters on field to link summon Beyond the Pendulum. And use her effect to fetch a Magicalabra. Next, scale the Viscount and Magicalabra to Pendulum summon back our two starting monsters. Which we will immediately link off for Electromite. On Electromite summon, we'll use its effect to add a Mad Marquis to our extra deck. Then we'll use Viscount Scale effect to summon itself, before using its on-field effect to place Mad Marquis in the spell/trap zone and make sure that the zone above it is still free. Since the above zone is free, we can use Shinra Bansho to move Mad Marquis up to the monster zone. In the monster zone, we can use its effect to Pot of Prosperity-like effect to add another Vaylantz card to our hand. Then we'll pop the Magicalabra in our scale with Electromite to add it back to our hand, whilst also drawing a card. Next we'll normal summon the Magicalabra and use it with the Mad Marquis to synchro summon Baronne de Fleur. The remaining monsters will then be used to link summon a 3-material Apollousa. And before we'll go to the end phase, we'll use Baronne's pop effect to pop our own Konig Wissen. It makes sense if you've watched my previous video, but if you are confused, you can find the previous video in the description. So we'll end our turn with an Omni Negate and 3 possible Monster Negates. Not too shabby for 2 cards. But we can do better if we'd open slightly differently, even utilizing the new Arctos XII. We've opened solo activation, so we'll activate it to scale Shinonome. Then we'll special summon her and use her effect to search the field spell, or a spell that searches the field spell. Since we already have Konig Wissen in our hand, we'll add the place of beginning and just won't use it. Activate the field spell and scale the mover, in this case Nizuki, to special summon it. Then we'll use its effect to move Shinonome to fetch us the voltage Viscount. Before linking off both monsters on field to link summon Electromite. With Electromites on summon effect, we'll move a Mad Marquis to the extra deck. Then we'll scale and summon the Viscount. And use its effect to place Mad Marquis from the extra deck to our spell and trap zone, before using Shinra Bansho to move Marquis up one zone. We can now again use its effect to possibly add a Vaylantz card to our hand. More importantly, since it is level 6 and below the extra monster zone, we can tribute it to summon the Grand Duke, which we will immediately pop with Electromite, to add back Shinonome from the extra deck to our hand. Now we'll use Solo Activation's Graveyard effect to move the Viscount, which will allow us to place the Grand Duke in our pendulum scale. Then we'll link off Electromite and Viscount to summon Beyond the Pendulum. And use its on summon effect to add Dominator Duke to our hand, which we will immediately put in our pendulum scale. Next we'll perform a pendulum summon, summoning at least a Mad Marquis from our extra deck, the Shinonome from our hand and another one. Make sure that you'll put Marquis in the middle zone to not mess up the combo later. Use every monster except the Marquis to link summon a 3-material Apollousa. This will clear the zone above the Grand Duke, so we can use its scale effect to special summon itself. With 2 level 5 or higher Vaylantz monsters on field, we can tribute both to special summon Arctos XII. I personally like to summon it in one of the 3 center zones, furthest away from Apollousa, keeping the zone above Dominator Duke free. Since that zone is still free, we can special summon Dominator Duke from the scale. Then we can use Arctos' effect to trade places with it, so we can pop a card, and we'll make sure to pop the Koenig Wissen before ending our turn. This may not look as dominant as the previous board, but not only do we have a 3-material Apollousa, we also have a nice yoink and pop when we use Arctos' effect on the opponent's turn. And we will not return the monster to our opponent, which is treated as a Vaylantz monster by the way. So with just 2 cards, we technically would have 5 possible interruptions, but we are weak to spell cards. Since for these combos we have not used any Floodgates, we might as well remove them from the list and replace them with at least 1 Magicalabra. You may opt to switch in a Necrovalley, which is a Floodgate nevertheless, as we can still easily search field spells with Majesty Pegasus. I personally think that the Floodgate version is stronger. I do agree that not running Floodgates is much more fun. Still, this deck is even better going second, especially when you build your deck around it. Sadly, it is quite hard to show its going second effectiveness in a combo video, so I will release a gameplay video using this deck within the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you need anything else to watch, let the YouTube algorithm introduce you to some videos that are put on your screen about now. Happy viewing!